Now, as a new parent, many people are given advice from friends and family members, especially when it comes to baby sleep. However, not all advice is accurate, with some old wives' tales that have been disproven by modern science.
So our sleep expert Lucy Wolfe is here to debunk a few of those myths around baby sleep. Good morning.
Hello, how are you?
Hi, Lucy. You're going to stick a few pins in balloons, are you?
Well, you know. Yeah.
Right, well, look, there's a lot of them here, so let's get straight to it. Right, I will spoil my baby if I always pick them up and hold them.
Yeah. And I think
you'll ruin the child.
Yeah, and this is what new parents hear, and you know from me that I really completely believe that you cannot spoil a baby. And even if you could, I feel it's our task as parents to teach them to feel loved, safe and secure, and that babies come with a high need to be held and cuddled. And this does not mean that you're making a rod for your own back or any of those things. And I think that what we need to do is give our new parents confidence and reassurance, and to help them have a very connected journey with their young children from the very start.
So it doesn't matter how much you hold them or pick them up?
Well, actually, the more you hold, I feel, and again, science will tell us this, the more contact that we have with our young babies, actually the more confident they become, the more safe they become with us. And then we're being responsive to their needs. And when we're being responsive to their needs, the trust is built.
So when you put them down, then they're not worried that you'll never pick them back up again.
And that's exactly the point, that the more that you're available in an emotional way and in a physical way, the trust level goes higher and higher, and they don't panic that maybe you're not going to meet their needs. You know, if you're trying to stretch feeds, or if you're trying to make them sleep when they don't want to be put down, then they're going to be hyper-vigilant. Whereas if you just lean into that, as they just get a little bit older, we can then start to lower them.
The science has completely changed this, because there was a time when if the child was born, the baby would be taken away, washed, cleaned, then brought back. Now, immediately, the baby goes on the mother's chest, skin-to-skin contact.
Absolutely.
So, in the same way that some animals do, we imprint.
Yes, and we learn so much more from modern science, and this is good for our parenting journeys. But as a result of that, we want to make sure that parents are confident in their approach.
Hug them as much as you possibly can.
Absolutely.
Right, if I limit daytime sleep if I limit daytime sleep, then they will sleep better by night.
Yes, so that's not true. So
I guess no.
Lots of people feel that if they limit day sleep, then they're going to improve nighttime sleep, where actually the relationship between daytime sleep and nighttime sleep is the more we get by day, the better and deeper and more rested your child will actually sleep. So there will be some cases where we do tailor the daytime sleep, but certainly working on the lowest level of daytime sleep will most often just result in lots of nighttime activity. Absolutely.
OK, and similarly, the later I keep them up, the later they will wake.
Yes, exactly. And again, often parents, when they're trying to help their children sleep better or make them sleep later in the morning time, the knee-jerk reaction is to go for a later bedtime, or actually to try and help a child sleep later in the morning, an earlier bedtime is generally required. So if I am correcting early rising, which is waking at 4 and 5 o'clock to start the day, one of the first things that I'll do as a practitioner is actually bring forward bedtime. So it's completely counterintuitive, but what we're looking for is to become well rested. The more rested a child is, the longer their sleep tendency will be.
OK, some children just don't need as much sleep. And I suppose this is applied to a lot of adults as well. You
Absolutely.
know, Margaret Thatcher famously got by on 4 hours sleep a night and all that.
Yes, exactly, and did die of dementia.
OK, now I'm not sure that you can medically make a link between the two.
There are links already between, let's say, lack of sleep and future health risks, increased health risks.
OK.
But let's say if we focus on children, lots of parents, when they struggle with their children's sleep, they start to feel that their child needs less sleep because they don't sleep. And then the external forces come out to play to say, oh, look, the father never slept, I'm a really bad sleeper myself, and ergo,
so we
expect our children not to sleep. And I suppose I am at pains to suggest that, yes, there are variations within sleep, but they're not wild variations. And there is a small percentage of the population that need less, like Margaret Thatcher, but the majority of us fall into the average bandwidths. And so I would be encouraging families not to lay on that premise and to always make an effort to work on improving as best as you can your child's sleep, because the more rested they are, they'll be functioning optimally then.
So a baby, so someone under 1 would be 12 hours more?
So once they hit over the 4-6 month mark, we're generally looking looking for an overnight bandwidth between maybe 10.5 to 12 hours. Now, that's not always completely consolidated, but that would be the sleep need by night, and then by day there are different bandwidths based on your child's age range. And again, most children, they don't vary hugely outside of the bandwidth, but they often need a lot of help to achieve that.
Now, this is one I often say about myself. So I
Yes,
don't know if
let's see what it is.
The more exercise they get in the day, the better they will sleep at night.
Yeah, it is true, but on its own, it's not the answer. So I often meet lots of parents who suggest, I'm running the legs off them, we've got them swimming, we couldn't walk them enough, and they still wake overnight. So outside activity and fresh air is hugely important, but it's in the context of everything else being kind of applied correctly, and then that we wouldn't have too much stimulating activity before bedtime. So let's say for us as adults, we try not to, or we're not supposed to anyway, exercise, strenuously 2 to 3 hours before bedtime, because it compromises your overnight activity. Same for young children, but they're not going to be doing strenuous activity, for example. But again, in isolation, all the activity in the world doesn't necessarily improve it, but it still is important to have.
Now, feeding up my baby before bedtime will help them sleep longer. I never understood this because as adults we're told don't eat just before you go to bed because it's bad for you. So why would it be good for a baby?
I know, somehow, somewhere, us parents got sucked into an idea that if you feed them really close to sleep time, they'll sleep longer because they typically wake because of hunger.
And the contentment of having a big meal.
Absolutely.
But Christmas Day.
And I suppose what happens is that when your baby is a new baby, they're largely governed by their stomach. They wake when they need a feed and then they go back to sleep, or at least that's the idea. But we get tied into this idea then as the child gets older that they need plus calories, stacked up calories in order to not wake. Whereas it's not the stomach that sleeps at all, it's the brain. So again, yes, you need enough to eat and drink by day, but stacking up the calories and giving porridge and rice in bottles is not necessarily the answer. Yes, you're going to feed them relatively close to sleep time, but you want the digestive tract to be relaxed. And we don't always want milk feeds too close to sleep time as your child gets older, because that often stops them cycling through sleep as well.
Okay.
Actually, one of the hardest things the body has to do is digest food.
Yeah, so again, for dinner for young children, once they're on solid food, I like to have a 2-hour clearance between eating and going to sleep, because then we know the digestive tract has had a chance to relax.
Do it. How about this one? Playing music will help your baby sleep longer.
Yeah, so I mentioned this one because music and white noise, so playing something to your child as they get to sleep, actually has always been important. You know, the lullaby music regulates the heartbeat. Again, it can be a sleep cue, and white noise is reminiscent of the womb, so young children absolutely respond to it. So there is a definite place for it. However, it needs to be used correctly. So if you play music to a young child or you use white noise when they're going to sleep, and they go to sleep listening to it, strictly speaking, it needs to stay on for the entire sleep period, because the brain is registering what's happening when they go to sleep, and then it will search for that activity potentially. And if it's been turned off, then it can contribute to nighttime activity, unwanted nighttime activity.
OK, now, I need to create a difference for day and nighttime sleep.
Yes, so lots of people worry that...
Because you've said there is a difference between the two. They're two different things.
Completely different things. Naps are operated by a different part of the brain, in fact. But lots of people feel that they shouldn't pull the curtains or make the room dark for the nap. Or actually, if you're having a sleep period, we would always encourage a sleep environment. Your baby's body from, 12 weeks plus starts to make the sleep hormone melatonin. So the confusion between day and night is no longer that relevant.
So
we would
pull
have
the
turned
curtains,
it
it's fine.
Absolutely, because you want to send the right message to the brain. And during the day, the body doesn't make the melatonin, so you're relying on your cues and the sleep pressure that's built up on the baby's brain. So the point is, yes, make the room dark for naps. Your baby is never going to go for a nap and sleep for 12 hours because the body just wouldn't let it. Does that make sense to you? So again, it's just about sending those right messages and signalling to the brain when is the right time.
OK, Lucy, thank you very much for that. Myths
brilliant
suitably
stuff there.
debunked.
Yeah.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you.
Dispatched with ruthless efficiency.
Yeah. Ruthless?
Don't do that.
Well, sorry. Expert efficiency. Now, after the break, action thrillers to inspiring biopics, we will be reviewing some of the week's biggest movie releases. Stay tuned.